Mr. Bailey, welcome to our YouTube football channel.
Okay, thank you.
Just tell us briefly about you now currently being the president of SAFA Cape Town. What influenced you to run for elections?
I've been involved in football, playing football at club level at the age of 14, but I've always played schools football before that. So I've always been in football, and that's winter, and in summer was athletics. So that is that is my what drives me is those two sporting codes, one winter, one summer. And later on in life, there was a need for administrators, and then I've been an interchange between being an administrator and then being a player. But then until I think it was when I got to Pentec, when I was asked by Toby Titus that they need young administrators and they prefer me to be one of them. So that is how I got into administration. But however, I found also in football that the people that we've been working with in football, they've been messing up a lot. And I've always been our delegate from Reigate or from our club or wherever. I've always been the delegate. But then I've realized, but these guys are messing up. Then we must fix it in the council. Every time the council must fix it. I might as well go in there and do it myself.
Yeah.
So that is what I did. Yeah. That is how I availed myself for the vice presidency of SAFA, then eventually the presidency. And because I feel I might as well do it myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, immediately after you got into this position now, Cape Town was going through the water drought.
Yes.
How did SAFA Cape Town manage that situation?
That was a bad, in Afrikaans we would say it's a vuurdoop. You know, it was a baptism of fire. You just get elected and people have confidence that you will now do what you do best and bringing football to the people and make sure that football is played. But now there's the drought. And the city being not very innovative, adopted their normal stance. And that stance was, no, if the facility does not look right, all sport must be stopped. There's no innovation in it. And they adopted the same stance with regards to football. Yeah. No, we said, no, we're not going to accept that. Yeah. Football is our core business. I was not elected to be the president of a football list organization. Yeah. I was elected to manage and guide football. Yeah. So we said, and we coined the phrase, hashtag football shall be played. Yeah. Yeah. And what also didn't help us was the cancellation of the bail. The bail normally kickstart, and the football season is measured by the success of the bail. Yeah. So now bail is cancelled. Yeah. So what does it mean? It gives a signal. Not the same like Julius Malema asked Winnie, give me a signal. Yeah. But it gives a signal that football will not be played when it was cancelled. Yeah. And that was bad. And that followed, or the youth, and the other one gives the cadets, a launch pad. But now both are cancelled, so there's no launch pad. Yeah. So he said no.
Now let's talk for a moment about the state of amateur football in Cape Town. Is it in a good state?
Football is being played. This is quite a loaded statement if it's in a good state. Football is being played, and I think that's the most important part, because that brings also certainty. Yeah. And that's very important, certainty. Football is being played by the working class. I'm not sure if you ever heard about the football team in Bishopscourt. No. Constantia.
No.
Camps Bay. Yeah. There was a Camps Bay team, but later on I discovered all those guys are from Heideveld. Yeah. You see. And they play social football. But football is playing predominantly in working class areas. If you go all over the world, it's being played in working class areas. Already, when you look at the unemployment rate, it is 27.7%. Which means that people are not working in the working class areas. So now we need to bring certainty. We need to have people look forward. We need to bring hope. And what better method or better driver to bring football to those areas? So that football then is the vehicle to create hope in our society. So therefore, if you ask the question if football, the state of football of amateur football, the answer is that yes, it's being played, but we can do better, because football is being influenced by what's happening in society. We normally say when society sneeze, football gets a cold.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Now, linking that now, if you look at, I mean, you've mentioned now football is being played, and therefore, you know, it is in a good state, and it's linked up with society. What have you set out for yourself and your executive as a SAFA Cape Town presidency to achieve during your term?
We've put forward a 10-point plan, of which one is that we must visit those struggling or vulnerable LFAs. There's at one stage, one LFA disappeared in totality. Now, how does people disappear? No one disappears from the face of the earth. So it's important that we visit them. But we also make that personal touch, you know, that they feel they're important also. And one township, one of the oldest townships in this country is Guguletu.
Yeah.
That's a vulnerable LFA,
Yeah.
a local football association. They went to fetch a dinosaur to come back into football. Now, and it's young people who went to fetch him.
Yeah.
Now, what does it tell you? They have run out of options.
Yeah.
And this guy was not only out of football,
Yeah.
he's been out of touch with football. The very first meeting he got to, he didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And he's gone again.
Yeah.
That's one. The second one is that a Noah Park. A Noah Park is a gang-ridden area. They play football, but they haven't registered. So those are the LFAs that we need to visit. And just ask and have a conversation with them about the game.
Yeah.
That's one. The second one is that we also have various levels of football associations. Those who are very strong, and those who are not so strong, and those who are just struggling. So we categorize them, and that is where we're going to do capacity building courses in. We've already had a person in who's looking at designing some of those courses specifically for football.
Yeah.
But it will not be the normal run-of-the-mill sport admin, but it will also deal with societal issues.
Yeah.
Because football is, like I said, is ingrained. It is in the foundation, in the DNA of society. You see. Then, currently we have a COCUP, which is they've been in, I can't say substantial, been some increase.
Yeah.
That will take place. We tried now to introduce an over 40.
Yeah.
We wanted Coke. Coke said no, that's not the target market. So now we're looking for a sponsor for it.
Yeah.
And the over 40 we've also put down as a target market,
Yeah.
because those are former footballers
Yes.
who just want to do something.
Yeah.
And some of them haven't even played at the highest level. So now we want them to play also at this level,
Yeah.
so that maybe they can get in. But we also want their expertise back into the sport. This will also be the launch pad for us to have our Veterans and Masters Association.
Okay.
It will also connect us with some of the industries or corporate
Yeah.
who maybe want to get involved in football.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe it's one of these guys in the leadership of those corporates. So we put in place a 10-point plan, which we said these are the ones that we want to promote.
Yeah.
We've also looked at women's football. Now, women's football, men's football, there's no substantial growth. Universally, there's no substantial growth. But women's football, because remember, it's a new area. So it can only get more.
Yeah.
Even if one or two women drop out of the sport, it will not be so significant. But the entry or the new recruits will be more than the ones who drop out. So that's really a big target market. Now the drought also resulted in our membership drop from 120,000 to 78,000. Now that's substantial.
Yeah.
Or rather 68,000, because there was a drop of 22,000. 42,000. Yeah, yeah. I sounds like that president of the country. You see, but there's been a substantial drop.
Yeah.
So now, for us to grow, we need to look at the markets that it can grow also. So that is also another area that we've put down. So the academy is the other one,
Yeah.
because this is in anticipation of us playing, that's now Cape Town, playing as a province
Yeah.
in the national championships. So we need to prepare our people properly. So we will not be part of the provincial team, so we will have our own. So what that also means is that we cannot now go and we play as a group on our own and then we lose 50-0.
Yeah.
So we need to prepare properly. So we've also then developed a strategy with our coaches and our referees and our administrators, how we can select the best talent. So that 10-point plan, it will take us quite far. So we've also now consulted potential sponsors, and it looked like sponsorship, you do not sign a deal within a month or 2 or 3, or maybe 4. Some deals take years,
Yeah.
but we're convinced that we're sitting on a good wicket, and we would be able to get it.
Oh, no, that's good to hear that SAFA Cape Town is looking seriously at the Women's League establishment.
Now, just to
Yeah.
branch out, and it's something, a resolution it's a vision. There's a national vision currently, and a study group has been put together, or is about to be put together, to look at the feasibility of hosting a World Cup for a Women's World Cup in South Africa.
Yeah.
That's one. 2 is also to have a national professional women's league. Now, for those 2 to happen, we need to develop a culture of women's football. Now, my discussion with some of the executive members from the provincial executive of the Western Cape is that 1, as of tomorrow, we're also going to put our own group together to look at the best possible way, because the target currently for the National Women's Professional League is to ask the professional clubs if they're not going to have a women's league.
Yeah.
Now already they're struggling with the disky football, they're struggling with academies, they're struggling with youth football. They just want to get ready-made products.
Yes.
So how are they going to do justice to that call of a women's league?
Yeah.
So what we're going to do as SAFA Cape Town, we're going to conduct a feasibility study. Now this is not going to be one of those long ones, those long that they, government they pay millions of rands for feasibility studies just to arrive at a conclusion it's not possible.
Yeah.
So we're not going to do that.
Okay.
We're going to do our own desktop research,
Yeah.
which will be our own, but we know the outcome. We want a team.
No,
And to create that culture of women's football.
Yeah.
So, for example, if Iran women's football team come and play here, they're not popular.
Yeah.
They play maybe against Kazakhstan. No one knows those two. But the culture of football, women's football must be there. So when women's football is played, people must stream to the stadiums.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Mr. B. Now let's just delve into your SAB league and the LFA leagues. Because I think the entry level, if you look at the LFA, that is the most crucial part of football. That is where you enter football, and obviously when you reach the high performance level, that's when you represent the national team. How strong are the LFAs when it comes to football development?
I think we're dealing with a 50-50 here. 50 is strong. As I say strong, I mean relatively strong. And the others are not so strong. Remember, I started out by saying football is being played by the working class.
Yeah.
When any youngster grow up in a working class area, he lives in poverty. He or she looks at the way to get out of poverty. And they go through education, and they look at shortcuts also. Remember, there's not only the long route through education and then go to university for 20 years and then you look for a job for another 20 years. There's also shortcut. Okay? So football, because it is so, it's within the DNA of the working class, is the same. So therefore, some of the areas of the LFAs where youth football is not strong, it's because they're looking at shortcuts.
Yeah.
How can we get out of here quickly?
Yeah.
How can we get to the PSL? That's the target. How do we get to the PSL? So there's no development taking place within certain LFAs.
Yeah.
When you go on a Saturday to some of the townships, you will find youth football has been stopped because the seniors want to play now.
Yeah.
And they don't care. That is where the next seniors come from. So, yes, it's about the 50-50. And now we have what we refer to as the inter-LFA. I mean, there's Menenberg LFA who said, no, they're not going to play because they're not ready. You see? And that is what in certain working class areas you will find that. And we say, no, football must be played everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's the first level. Now, when we get to SAB, there's only about 3, I think it's about 3, and one township club is about to be relegated.
Yeah.
The other one is in danger of being relegated, which means there's only one left. So what's going to happen now?
Yeah.
Now people will look at shortcut. Now they want to buy franchises. They want to buy success. And you cannot buy success. Success is created over a period of time, which includes development.
Yeah.
So we need to look at strengthening the LFA football. If that is strong, SAB will be strong,
Yeah.
and Motsepe will be strong.
Yeah.
Now, you know, out of the 16 clubs, 14 is from Cape Town.
Yeah.
2 is from outside Cape Town.
Yeah.
So you can imagine of the state of football in the other regions.
Yes. Yes. Now, just talking about the buying of franchise,
Yeah.
because when I look at the top with the Premier Soccer League, you know, it's exactly the same trend. How can the PSL or SAFA being able to take control of the buying of the franchise or the selling of the franchise? Because it
yeah.
basically kills if there is a following for that specific club,
So
and then that following also just
it
disappears.
kills development.
Yeah,
It kills hope. And we shouldn't allow that.
yeah,
It is something which you can say during this term that we need to place on the agenda. And that is where SAB franchises are being sold, Motsepe is being sold. But that is all falls under the direct jurisdiction of SAFA.
yeah,
And SAFA, you cannot sell those things. You cannot sell a club. Because how do you sell a person? It is not a job.
yeah.
And it's amateur football.
Yeah.
And it's something it's worthwhile to look at. And it's something that must be placed on the agenda.
Yeah.
It's not good for football.
Yeah.
Because if you sell a club, you sell a club, where is that community going to?
Which brings me to my next question. Looking at the Co-Cup, I mean, this is one of the biggest amateur football competitions here in Cape Town.
Yeah.
What are some of the innovations for this year? I know you've touched on the over 40 ex-football players. What can we expect from SAFA Cape Town now in organizing the Co-Cup?
The last 3.5 years, or last 4 years, we've taken the Co-Cup to another level. By that I mean is that the Co-Cup is now the premier competition. It's not only being played by certain clubs who feel like playing. We have now, Cape Town Tigerbird is one of the biggest LFAs. Not one of the biggest, they are the biggest. Cape District is the other bigger one, big one. All the clubs are now rushing to participate, which means that there's now confidence that this is something good. There's something happening. And remember, the fees or the prize money haven't increased.
Yes.
It was 35,000, but the number of clubs have increased. See? So that I looked at as one of the innovations.
Yeah.
Now for this year, is that now we're going to take it now to areas where racism has been very high.
Yeah.
Xenophobic attacks has been very high. Like Masipumelelo, the Houtbuys. That is where we're going to take it to. We're going to take it to Lawandle.
Yes.
We're taking it to the Noon.
Yes.
We're taking it to those areas where it can be meaningful contribution and people can see football is not where you just kick a ball, but it also kicks racism and xenophobia out of football.
Yeah.
So those are the ones that we're going to do. The prize money will be basically the same.
Okay.
But those other things that make football work,
Yes.
that will be different.
Okay. Now, moving from that, if you look at the relationship between SAFA, now I'm going to speak now specifically SAFA Cape Town and the PSL. Looking at the Nedbank that took place in Cape Town, the Nedbank Cup final. From my side, I've never seen any activations in communities in that build-up. What relationship is there between SAFA and the PSL?
There's two things that I want to separate now with the Nedbank Cup and then the relationship. We have a good relationship with Cape Town City as SAFA Cape Town.
Yeah.
All their draws, their competition, their rules, the trainings, everything.
Yeah.
SAFA Cape Town is fully consulted in all of them. The Club 100 being run by Cape Town City, we are consulted in it.
Yeah.
They train 100 coaches every year. D licensed coaches. This year there will be a C licensed coach also, coaching course also. So that relationship is there. Ajax Cape Town, they just started now to build a relationship with us. So it is there.
Yeah.
With the first division and Motsepe, we are having a good relationship with all of them. In fact, we had a meeting with all those clubs recently to talk how can we help each other. Next week, yes, Steenberg is going to the playoffs, with the Motsepe playoffs. We'll be sending a person from SAFA Cape Town, one of our vice presidents, to accompany them, to show and demonstrate there's a relationship here. It's not you are on your own, like Pico said, Black Man, you're on your own.
Yeah.
We are there.
Yeah.
Then with the Nedbank Cup final,
Yes.
that's a separate one. Therefore, I'm separating the two. The two teams who played in the Nedbank Cup final, none of them are based in Cape Town.
Yes.
Although the coach claims he's from Cape Town. Yeah, he's from Cape Town. You know, when you're born and you say, no, I'm from there. But then you do something else as if you're not from there. And some of the players, they also claim they're from Cape Town.
Yeah.
But as SAFA Cape Town, we've never been, no call has been locked with SAFA Cape Town.
Yeah.
A meeting was scheduled between intermediary for one evening.
Yes.
I've availed myself. I'm still waiting.
Yeah.
Still waiting.
Yeah. That's quite a sad one because I still think that, I mean, Cape Town, the last time it hosted the Cup final game, it was in 2003. And I think this was such a great opportunity that, you know, even though the attendance was good, I think that stadium could have been even more packed.
Yeah, no, the activations, we were not consulted right throughout.
Yes.
And we do have, like I said, if you look at the Cape Town City games, you know what Cape Town City does?
Yeah.
They give an allocation to each LFA.
Yeah.
They give to the executives also. And with my discussion with the other regions this weekend, we're going to now extend it to the other regions, the relationship with Cape Town City, with all of them.
Yes.
Because Cape Town City want to do that.
Yeah.
It's a people-friendly organization. John Comitas doesn't care. He gives you 200 tickets if you can bring the 200 bodies there.
Yeah.
If you bring the 200 bodies, he tells you, you want 300? I can give it to you. He doesn't care. He's building the relationship. And I think underclass was...
Let's talk briefly about the Congress that took place yesterday. There's been a lot of debates about it. I mean, there were even court applications to stop it. How did things unfold yesterday?
It was quite a positive mood, if there's something like that.
Yeah.
In the Congress. Because remember, this thing comes from last year, September already.
Yes.
The Congress, there was supposed to be a Congress in September, it was postponed because there were some issues. Then in October, we then agreed. We're going to now we're going to bring forward the elections because we're not going to the World Cup. We're not going to the World Cup. So why do we have to wait for the World Cup to take place? What do we want to see? Yeah. We know we're not going to the World Cup. Yeah. So it was then that we need a new executive that will take us to Qatar. Yeah. Because Russia is now 2018, so we want to go to Qatar in 2022. That also speaks to our Vision 2022, where there's a whole range of institutions that we need to modify. Yeah. But as an organization, we haven't started yet. So, and we also know that when we focus on Qatar, it's going to be too late now. Yeah. Because it speaks about under 8 football, under 10 football, under 12. And players mature in their 20s. So when we look at 4 years, these players will be 16, they will be 18, but they will be too young. Yeah. So we're late. So, but that executive failed us to take us to any of the World Cups before this. Yeah. The one we've hosted in 2010, 2014, we didn't even go further than Heideveld. Yeah. Then 2018, we're not going anywhere. Yeah. You see? But that executive is in place. So we connected that to a football agenda. We brought a football agenda in to say, we want to go to Qatar. Yeah. Now we want to go to Qatar. Yeah. No, but for us to get to Qatar, we need a new executive. Yeah. So we call a Congress for March. Yeah. But on each and every time, then this Ace Noble came onto the scene. He was never before that. Yeah. You see, and this guy, he got a lot of airtime. He got a lot of airtime. So now, every time there's something, then there's something new, then there's something new. So there's been a lot of frustrations built up within the delegates and the leadership in football. So therefore, when the Congress took place yesterday, on the back of a court application for it to be stopped, people just said, we're going to have this Congress because we need to go to Qatar. That is the catalyst, Qatar. You see. So yesterday when it took place, people were happy. One of the first people to question the legitimacy of the elections was Ace Noble. And must remember, McCaps is a senior counsel. He's a seasoned lawyer. And McCaps said to him, where I'm standing, you're asking a lot of questions. I can only answer the legal part. In terms of the legal part, this is a legal Congress. Then he said, okay, that's fine. I want to withdraw my nomination. I do not agree with you. I withdraw my nomination. And then he walked out. Then he left the meeting. With proper English. He didn't stage a walkout. Because normally when you stage a walkout, you say, I'm walking out now. He didn't announce anything. He just, when we went to the processes and so on, he said nothing. He just left. Oh, sorry, there was a break. And then he left.
Okay. Because according to the media reports, he says he was threatened. That's one of the things that made him leave the meeting. And then obviously the first part you've covered where he didn't agree on certain matters.
You know, Pastor, I was threatened the night before by two people. But I was still in the Congress. I was there. And I was threatened. In fact, someone said to me, you could have gone to the police station. I said, no, I'm not the Mugo. You see. So, there's been someone shouted at him. Now, I was closer to that person than he was. What that person said, I cannot even remember. But I think it was something to sit down, or something like that. You see, I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, I couldn't hear properly. But I just looked at the body language. And then he raised his hand. Ace Noble raised his hand. And he said to the lawyer, McCaps, I am not allowed, I've been disturbed, I'm not allowed to say what I want to say. I feel I cannot participate properly. Something like that he said. I can't remember the exact words. Then McCaps said to him, sir, I haven't heard that. Okay? But now that you brought it to my attention, I'm here to protect you. So if that happens again, just point that person out and I will have no hesitation to eject that person. That was the exact words of McCaps, the electoral officer. So he was offered protection. When I say protection, I'm not saying now, you know, people will do bodily harm. Protection like you would be allowed to participate freely. And that was the assurance given. So when he left during the break, then a break was called and he left. So to say to the media that he left because he was threatened, I think it's disingenuous. And he must stop doing this nonsense to bring football, because now everybody's questioning football.
Yes, because I wanted to ask you, don't you think the credibility of SAFA has been compromised throughout this process?
I met someone on the plane now. It's a youngster who grew up in front of me in politics. This man had nothing good to say about football. And I believe he's one of the advisors now of the minister. He had nothing good to say. There's someone that said yesterday on Facebook, football is rotten to the core. So I asked him to explain. He said, yes, it's rotten to the core. And I didn't respond to that person. That person is running an NGO, a football NGO. Now, if you say your core business, which is his core business, is rotten to the core, then I'm wondering what is he teaching his students. You see, and Ace is causing a lot of negativity. He keep on saying, this is not happening right, that is not happening right. Then help us. Then help us. There's been condonation also. The judge said to him, there was a condonation passed. His LFA, or his region, was the only region who objected.
Yes.
He launched a counter motion, he didn't get a seconder. But he tells everybody he's got a lot of support. It's not him alone.
Yeah.
It's him in a collective.
Yeah.
Bro, I think this guy is bringing really football into disrepute.
Okay. Now let's just spend a moment about your role now in the National Executive. Looking at the current image of SAFA, based on our discussion about Ace Ngobo taking on some of the issues on. Now you're in the National Executive. How is the current executive going to bring back that confidence to the people about football?
We have some good people on the executive. Personally, I don't know all of them. But I just know from where I'm sitting and the people I know. There's Ria Ndwaba.
Yeah.
That woman is working her butt off in Limpopo. There are competitions taking place which she found sponsorship for. She's working around the clock to bring stability and everything and certainty in that region. She is there. There's Natasha Tiklas. I mean, her name speaks for herself in football. That is a strong woman of football. Then there is Gay Makwena. Then there's Mafawan. These are, when you look at them, you see statesmen and stateswomen.
Yeah.
So I'm confident with people like them. And next weekend, next Sunday, we must vote for vice presidents.
Yeah.
According to me, the vice president can only come from them.
Yeah.
Can only come from them. They've got high ethical values.
Yeah.
And I can align myself with that. When we have people like that, currently there's all these allegations against Danny, which means that we need other second tier of leaders that can also stand out.
Yeah.
And let me tell you also, Pastor, Danny means a lot to football.
Yes.
He has turned the organization around from a negative to a positive. He is traveling the length and breadth of this country and the continent. The continent got confidence in this guy.
Yes.
The world got confidence. And we also. And I think this thing which Ace is doing, he must stop with that.
Yeah.
He must now get on. Must get onto the business of football now. So my job would be now also to work with these people.
Yeah.
Because I think that people look at me as a footballer.
Yeah.
They look at me as a footballer. So with me being on the national executive, people can see this is not a couple of ANC guys or politicians being there.
Yeah.
These are footballers now.
Yeah.
And like I said, when I look at Guy Makwena, I look at Mafawan, these guys are all in football.
Yeah.
I've had to live now with someone, Bantu. His name is Bantu,
Yes.
from Kimberley, from that area, the R area.
Yeah.
This guy is on his way to SAP playoffs.
Yeah.
Like the rest of the guys, they're all in football. But outside there, people are saying, these are not footballers.
Yes.
So the image has been tarnished. And I think that more of us should speak on these matters of football. That people can now identify SAFA to be a football body.
Yeah. Yeah. Now let's spend some time talking about Dr. Danny Jordan. There's quite a lot of things that has happened over the past months or so. All the accusations of his personal life and how has that affected?
I think that it has affected his personal life a lot. He spoke to us and he said that his son cannot even go out anymore because of all these allegations. And I think it's really unfair. It's unfair to him as a person. As a person, it's unfair that all these allegations are made in the media, he's tried in the media, he's found guilty in the media. There's this Parktown police station where all these cases are made, but it doesn't